Welcome back to the Aphasia Inclusion Episodes, Holiday Edition. This is episode number 3 out of 5 in our series. This week, we're going to catch up with Alvin and Len. Both men face unique challenges, yet they continue to bring joy and connection to the holiday season in inspiring ways. We're going to talk about a few thoughtful adjustments that can be made during holiday gatherings to make them more inclusive and meaningful. So let's get started.
Welcome to the Listen for Life podcast with Genevieve Richardson. Genevieve is a speech-language pathologist rehabilitating adults with communication challenges after a stroke or due to a neurological impairment. Get equipped with knowledge from experts in the field and professionals you need to know. We'll hear stories and experiences from others who are navigating life with aphasia. So, put your earphones in and take a walk outside. This isn't just a podcast. This is a community, a resource, and a support system. We're in this together. Do life.
It's the holiday season again. Families gather. There's laughter. There's the scent of pumpkin pie, if you like pumpkin pie, cranberries, turkey, whatever it is, whatever your meal includes for your holiday. And now let's revisit Len. Len was an avid athlete before his stroke. And as the holidays approached, he looked at the holidays like an Olympic event. He loved every component of the holidays. He planned them, he prepared them. He helped make sure everybody felt included, from meal planning to conversations to games. But after his stroke, his life changed dramatically. His words that once flowed were now obstacles. He struggled to get the words out as he wanted them to come out. And as others would chat around him, he would find it was hard to keep up with the conversations. It was hard to hold on to his thoughts long enough to get his words out. But this holiday, Len wants his family and friends to understand 3 things. Because as Len continues to improve and progress in his speech and language abilities, he still needs some accommodations. And let's go through what each of these are. The first one is the gift of time. While others are opening gifts, the best gift Len can receive is simply time. He wants to know what's going on and he wants to be a part of the conversation, but he needs people to slow down just a bit, not to rush, not to talk over each other or ask a complicated question that has 3 components to it. His brain, even though he's making such tremendous progress, he can't process all of that information at one time. He wants to be part of the laughter and the stories and the shared memories. He needs folks to slow down, pause, not talk over each other. Another consideration Len is asking for is space for connection. When the kids are over, he wants to be able to have a quiet space where he can talk with some friends or family away from some of the chaos of the kids. In this area, he doesn't have background noise going on. The music has been turned down or turned off so that it's not competing with his thoughts. Because when there's a lot of background noise for Len, it's really hard for him to hold on to his thoughts, find all his words, and get them to come out in a consistent, natural way. Despite all of his work in therapy, he can get sidetracked really easily with that background noise. So using a smaller seating area, both inside and outside, because this first holiday is happening at Len's house. So he's got some control over that. But he also shared with his guests that he's doing this on purpose so that they understand and they can kind of meet expectations, right? If we share with others what we're thinking or what we're planning, it's so much easier for it to come off in a natural and more relaxed way. So Len, instead of being the life of the party and in front of a big group of people, he spends his time more one on one or him with just a couple of other people, whether it's inside or outside, where there's less background noise. So Len also wants to make sure that others don't finish his sentences. He has a cousin he was telling me about, his cousin Eric, that loves to anticipate what Len's going to say and jump in right away and finish his sentences. Almost never Eric is right. Wow, what is that? Double negative? Eric is almost never right with what Len was intending to say versus what Eric says for him. So this time, Len placed a phone call to Eric ahead of the visit and said, "Dude, I need you to let me finish my sentences. If I think I can't get it out, or if I know that you know what I want to say, I promise to ask you." So Len taking it upon himself to have that initial conversation with Eric made the holiday go a lot better. He didn't do it in a confrontational way. He thanked Eric for trying and wanting to help, but he also told Eric what he could do for him. And that is an important take home part. A message that I really want to get through to the families who have a loved one with aphasia. It's important to talk about it and to say what you want others to do for you, not what you don't. Because in general, humans, we want to be helpful, we want to be useful. We don't want to be embarrassed by saying something wrong or doing something wrong. So let's just prepare everybody from the beginning. Now let's pivot to Alvin's story. If you remember Alvin from last year, Alvin is in his early 50s and he's a technical director in a tech company. So, needless to say, details are an important part of who he is as a person. So with Alvin, he is a family man through and through. He once looked forward to the holidays like a child waiting for the first snowfall. But after the stroke left him with mild aphasia, meaning he had trouble finding his words and getting his words out, he he would be very frustrated with his speech for quite a while after Alvin's aphasia started. He would drop his head. He would say things under his breath, beating himself up when he couldn't think of a word. But what he has worked on so hard this year is, and what he wants to convey to his friends and family, is that he is still Alvin. He's still himself. His concentration and memory abilities are largely still there. He really just struggles with finding the exact words that he wants to say. Sometimes he slurs a word or he has to pause for a few seconds to come up with the word. But he wants his family to know that he is still him. He's still thinking clearly. He just needs a little more time to get the words out and to please, please, please not interrupt. But isn't that part of our society these days? We've gotten where we're very uncomfortable with silence. But that's what Alvin wants and needs most of all. He needs people just to be quiet for a moment, not for a minute, because that would be a really, really long time, but just for a couple of seconds. So Alvin also wants his families to know that when it's really busy and there's background noise, just like I laid out with Len, he can start getting stressed. He also gets fatigued, right? I'd given the example in a previous episode about the person with aphasia having only so big of a gas tank. When you have aphasia, your gas tank is never really full. And when you're using that gas, it goes very, very quickly. So there has to be time built into the schedule. So for Alvin, he really works with the schedule, understanding when people are arriving, when's the meal, when's dessert, what are the other activities going on? And then what he does is figure out where he can get a break from the noise and the conversation so that he can go to a quiet place and recharge. So that's him trying to fill the gas tank back up. So does that make sense? Alvin needs space. He needs people to pause. Let him fill in his words. Don't fill them in for him. He needs a place to recharge. He can't do the 8 hours of entertaining like he used to do. He's a good around 4 hours. So he and his family have had to make some adjustments for that. And finally, what Alvin wants his family to understand is active listening and respectful silence are the things he needs most of all. If he's sitting quiet in a room, he may just be watching and smiling and nodding and using gestures to convey that he is being part of the conversation without even speaking. This way, Alvin feels like he's being seen and heard. And when he feels like he has something to say, he keeps it short and gets it out. And if he wants longer conversations, he goes to a different place with that person or persons to have that. So, what I want you, my audience, to take home from this episode about Len and Alvin is that connection doesn't always require words. Sometimes it's just about giving a little space. Maybe it's a little space in the conversation. Maybe it's a little recharging space inside or outside the house so the person with aphasia can recharge their batteries, fill up their gas tank. And that families need to just keep showing a little bit of patience and truly listening. So, some strategies for Len. Len might make sure to say, Marvin, why don't we step onto the porch to chat? And then he and Marvin can go have a moment to relax and engage without pressure. For Alvin, there are a couple different people, a friend and a family member, who check in with him throughout the event to make sure he's doing okay, that he has gotten his time to recharge, and just to make sure he is feeling included because Alvin needs to take a break. He needs to change the environment to recharge. Every individual with aphasia is unique and they need different kinds of support. So for some, it's patience and extra time. For others, it's a place to recharge, uh, to avoid having people finish their sentences. Let them do all that they can do. So here's your takeaway message. Create designated spaces. If noise or conversation overload is a challenge, feel free to set up a quieter space. Give time freely. A few extra moments of patience, of pausing, can be a tremendous gift. Let the person with aphasia find their words without rushing them or finishing their sentences. Take a gentle approach. Approach conversations with kindness, understanding, keeping eye contact, making that person with aphasia feel like they are valued and part of the celebration. If they're really struggling, I would say, as a speech pathologist, I would encourage you not. So I'm telling you what not to do now, and then I'll tell you what you can do. Do not say, it's okay. Take all the time you need. You got this. That doesn't help. It actually, what my clients tell me is that makes them feel less of a person because we wouldn't necessarily say that to others that don't have aphasia, would we? We'd just pause and wait, wouldn't we? So here's what you can do. If you're close to them and you feel like they're getting really frustrated or they just need a moment, why don't you put your hand on top of theirs? Give them a little squeeze. Put your hand on their shoulder. Give them a little squeeze. Smile, stay relaxed, and give them that time. Because when you interrupt them, even though you're well-meaning, when you interrupt with words, that knocks their train off the tracks. There's a reason we call it a train of thought, right? We get our concept. We have to put our words together, and then we have to program our mouth to get it out so that other people can understand it. But when you interrupt, even with well-meaning words, it can really throw that person off. This holiday season is a season of hope. It's about reflecting on our past, our hopes for the future, and Len and Alvin, this season is a reminder both of how far they've come. Also, unfortunately, they've realized what they've lost, but they've done a lot of work to think about who they are now, what they want for the future, how they want to interact with others. And they are actively working to communicate that to their friends and family so that they feel a part of the holidays, so that they feel connected, because that is what it is all about. So, your action step for today. I want you to think about if you are hosting for a holiday. Don't think of all your holidays, just pick maybe the next holiday that's coming up. If you are hosting, can you think about logistically where in your house, inside your house, could the person with aphasia go to either recharge or have a one on one conversation with somebody else? If the weather is nice, is there an outside space where this can happen? So think about that when you're hosting. If you are traveling and your person has aphasia and you're going to somebody else's house, could you consider contacting the hostess ahead of time and asking the same question? Is there a place that if your loved one is getting extra tired and they need a place to go lie down or sit in a comfy chair, is there a place for this to happen? If there is, wonderful. If there isn't, maybe your next step is talking to the hostess about what does the timing look like for the day. And it might be that you, the spouse, traveling with your person with aphasia, have to make some difficult decisions about how and when you attend that gathering. Maybe if your person only has a little bit of gas in the gas tank, maybe it's more important to show up for dessert when everybody, if it's Thanksgiving, they're going into to their turkey coma, and maybe there's a movie on for the kids and maybe it's more quiet. Maybe that's the best time to go. Or maybe it's just being there for turkey dinner and leaving right after that. Whatever the case may be, reach out to your hostess, talk about that schedule. So if there's not a place to recharge, think about the scheduling. These tips and strategies that I'm sharing with you from this episode are just some of the strategies that are inside our holiday aphasia inclusion and connection workbook. It's going to be available very soon on Amazon, and we are very excited about it. Previous versions, it was not a workbook, it was more like a how-to book. And I felt like people weren't taking those strategies and putting them into action. So we turned this into a workbook with prompts and reflection tools and rating tools to help you figure out the best and easiest way to make your holidays aphasia inclusive, meaningful, where you and your loved one with aphasia is connecting with those around you. I will say goodbye for this episode. We will see you on episode number 4, where we connect again with Bruce and how Bruce needs different strategies from what we've talked about so far to make his holidays inclusive. May all of your days be wonderful. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Listen for Life podcast. We hope you feel empowered and supported. Head over to listenforlifepodcast.com to see the show notes with links and information from today's episode. Do you have a topic, a resource to share, or a guest recommendation? Inquiring minds want to know. Let us know in the comments section. Wishing you a fabulous week.